taking them back on. There we go. All right. So welcome to this mini webinar on using bento boxes for reading response, which is super fun. I first learned about bento. Well, I'd had bento boxes for my lunches. I've always brought them to like work and stuff. So I always knew about them there, but I never knew them for using them for reading responses till I was at a conference, and Lisa Highfill, one of the Hyperdoc ladies, did a session on bento boxes, and I just fell in love. And she uses them with the Hyperdoc model, but I'm just going to show you what they are and kind of walk you through how you build them, some of the platforms that are best for building them. And then if we have time, maybe we can actually build one together. Sound good? I see some head nods. Wonderful. Good. All right. So let me share my screen here. And then bring you over to bento boxes. All right, so if you're not familiar with bento boxes are just segmented lunch boxes. That's where they come from. So when you order food, like especially when you order sushi and food like that, they often come into bento boxes where you have everything kind of segmented into different spaces, but all your food is there. So I know I have a kid that doesn't like their food to touch, so I've always used these so their food didn't touch. And I like it just because it keeps the fruit separated from the crackers and that sort of thing. So did someone ask a question? I'm sorry, I thought I heard somebody. Nope. Okay. Maybe it's in my house. So, all right. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you can use them for reading response. So book bentos actually started on Instagram, which is, you always think Instagram is just silly photos and things like that. I know my daughter's obsessed with Instagram and all that, but it actually was something that started there where people were looking at different ways to showcase a book that they read. And it started on this Instagram page, and there's actually its own page now. I'm going to take you out to it real quick here, called Book Bento. And they have book recommendations. And the idea was that they just created these really visually appealing, which you can see I grabbed some of these for the picture that I put on there, really visually appealing ways to showcase what you've read and what you know about the book. And each item that's around the book itself are things that represent what happened in the story. So if you've read the book, you might be like, oh, I can figure that out from, whatever. So I'm just going to see if I can find one that I've read. So actually I have this one on the next one, The Fault in Our Stars. So you can go through and say, well, I know this. Okay, how important that was as part of the story, and it was heart-wrenching in the story whenever that was said. So, it kind of showcases the book in a different way. And there's so many different layers you can add to it. It could just be like you see here, where it's just this visual and then the students explain using their voice, or you can have different spots put onto these book bentos to show different, show why you chose the items that you chose. And you can really have some really in-depth conversations about the books that they read based on these book bentos. I also think they'd be great if each student did them. You put them on some sort of grid like this where the students can look at them, and I think it'll give them the intrigue to maybe want to read a book, because they might be like, how does, the artichoke go in with the Queen of Hearts? Or, you know what I mean? Like they might look at it and go, hey, this is a great idea. Let's try this out. So it might be something really good there. Let me just hit a bit there. So yeah, so check out this Instagram page if you're on Insta. If you're not, just Google them. You'll see a ton out there of great book bentos. This one I was trying to figure out because I read The Outsiders. I mean, it's been a long, long time. And I know that this is for the Stay Golden. And I'm thinking this is the different groups. But I can't figure out what the nail polish and the cherries mean. Anyone have an idea? Anyone read it recently? It's probably been 20 years or more since I read this book. No one knows either. Okay.
I think the cherries represent the girl. Wasn't her name?
Was her name Cherry? I can't remember.
I could be missing that, but I thought her name was Cherry, the popular girl there.
That makes a lot of sense then. So you can see how these kind of work based on that. And then they could allow for these really rich conversations where you can say, oh, that was such and such. And I know that I have two kids at home, and one's an avid reader and one is not. And the one that's not, she would have to read the book in order to create one of these. And I think that's really key, because a lot of times what her teachers give for assignments, and her teachers are wonderful. I'm not putting them down in any way. But a lot of times what the teachers give them are find a quote and tell me what it means. Well, she just thumbs through till she reads something on a page, finds that quote, and then writes how she thinks it relates to the character of the story. And she gets a good grade. So while that sounds like, I mean, I love quotes and I think it's a great activity, I don't think it proves that they've actually read the book. And I know we just read together, her and I, Children of Blood and Bone. I read the whole thing. She read the first half and then, abandoned the book, which is very typical for her. But it was enough for her to do it. It would not be enough, I think, for her to do these book bentos. So, I think this is a great way to kind of make sure the students kind of do the whole project. So let's talk a little bit about what they are now that I've showed you a bunch of them. So what is a book bento? It's an idea where they create this visual reflection of what the book is about. And I said I grabbed that Fault in Our Stars one, and it's a little blurry, but because I grabbed it off the Instagram page, but you get the idea. It does bring the book to life in a very different way. It's definitely more visually appealing. I was thinking, like, when we were kids and we'd have to make those dioramas, or you'd have to create like a shoebox design of a story. I think this is very similar to that, but done digitally. So I think it really allows for a lot of creativity. A lot of them in the more traditional ones are photographs, so that you find actual objects, you line them up on the floor, or on a table or a bed or wherever, and you take the picture from above. But it doesn't have to be. I mean, you certainly can have students do it based on what they have in their house, and to be able to figure out how to do these kind of activities. So with this one, with Fault in Our Stars, they were able to have some pretty intricate images, but I'm going to show you some different ways to grab those images if you don't have them in your house, but you want to add them to your book bento too. So when you're creating a book bento, it should have the book cover. And I've seen some without, but I don't think it has the same impact. And anything I've read about doing these kind of projects really should have the cover of the book. Here in this one, this was an actual student example that a student did, that I grabbed off of, and I think I linked it. Yeah, it came from Twitter. So you pull it right out. You can see some different ones that this teacher did with her students, and I just grabbed one of the pictures from there. So you have the link back to see where it came from. But they add the actual book, which makes it a lot more visually appealing. But they certainly could Google the cover of the book and use that image as well. And then they were able to put different projects about it, or different objects about the book on there. I've never read the book, but I can get a good idea based on this, what the book might have, might be happening in the book. You pick 5 to 7 objects that hold meaning to the book. And it could be something as simple as a character. It could be the imagery that happens in the book. It could be the main idea. It could be a theme, anything along those lines. It typically is a square, even though bento boxes tend to be more of a rectangle, but they typically are in a square design. They should be fairly organized. And this one, even though it's not organized where everything's kind of structured, is a very organized looking book bento, in that, they have each of the items and they kind of are in an angle or an order that is visually appealing. Actual images are preferred, but again, in this kind of remote learning, you certainly could use images from the internet. There's nothing wrong with that. The background matters too. It shouldn't be that you're using a background that's just like, if the book takes place at night, you wouldn't use a sunny yellow background probably. You want to have something that kind of relates to the theme of the book. Spacing matters on how you put the different objects. Placement matters. And there should be a variety. It shouldn't just be the book and one object. It should have 5 to 7 different things on there. So where can you create them? You can create them right in Google Slides. There's nothing that says you can't. But there's some others that are really great resources for you. I personally love ThingLink, but it's not EdLaw 2D compliant yet. I'm hoping it will be, but I haven't seen that on any of the lists yet. And if it does, I'll change that over that it is. I used to use ThingLink all the time in my classroom. I used to teach 6th grade English, and we always did Love That Dog, which is a story told in prose. And one year we connected with a school in Vietnam, and we read the book together between the two schools, and we created ThingLink, visual items about the book and poetry, and then we explored culture, and we did it all on the ThingLink. So let me show you how that kind of works, and then we'll come back to the others. So I'm going to click on this one. Again, these are all resources I found on the internet. I didn't make any of these, but here's one on Malala. And you see on ThingLink, when you come out to it, as I hover over these little spots that they put on them, there's more information. So it explains why they put the different things on each of the objects and why they matter. So it's not just here's the image, I don't know why you chose them. Here you can kind of figure out why you chose them. So while we were looking at that Outsiders one, and I was like, I'm not sure what the cherries stand for, and we had this discussion about it, here we can actually have the hot link that will show what it is. So ThingLink allows you to do that. You take any image. So this student took a picture, brought it into ThingLink, and then added these hotspots on it to explain all about it. And I'm sure that the teacher gave them very direct instructions to, that on the book you have to, give a little summary, give it out of how many 5 stars, and then they even have it on Goodreads, and a little video from her speech, which is great. They explain why they have the background, why it's here, that they destroyed everything beautiful about the grass field she used to play in. So this is a memory from the book. The love talks about spreading her love, even though she was injured. And then, the scarf because of what they wear or what she wore. And then the education that was taken away from her is the books. The skirt was because of the clothing restrictions that she dealt with. And then, she did the 4-leaf clovers to be as a signal for luck. So I thought this was a really great one. So that's what ThingLink can do. And I actually have a few others that I wanted to show you. So there's the Outsiders one. I did grab it in here as far as an image, and there's a few others. I haven't seen this book. I haven't read this book or watched the movie yet, but I heard it's wonderful. But Racing in the Rain. So here's the description, and then each of the items that go with the story. Same idea. In Cold Blood. This one's neat because the student actually did the muddy footprint and then stepped where he wanted it to be. But you certainly could find an image of a muddy footprint and do that as well. But you have all of the different objects on here to show the different parts of the story. A Bridge Across the Ocean. This one's really pretty looking, where they explain everything in here. This one actually, I think that should have said something, but maybe this is more the teacher kind of set up, and then explain for the definitions for the, to be able to explain how the different parts work. So I like that they even suggested things that you can do in there. So it's a good way for you to give the directions for your students with this one, but I thought this one was really visually appealing. Emerald Atlas, same idea. This one, they did a much more structured one in ThingLink, which you could certainly do in any object. And you can see this one, even though it's not actual real images, it's still visually appealing for you to kind of look at. Here's To Kill a Mockingbird. We have all had to read that one, right? So you can see all the different items and why they put them in there. And then the last one is this one for a younger kids book, because these don't only have to be high school. Again, they used a background, and then they used a background remover, which I'll show you on the next slide, or in one of the future slides, to show you how to do that so they can find these images to put in there. Any questions on the organization of the book Bento before I move on? We're doing good? Awesome. All right, now I got a lot of tabs open here. Okay, moving right along. So let me go back to here. So we've mentioned ThingLink. Glogster, it's funny, I used to use Glogster before I discovered ThingLink years and years and years ago. And it's completely had a major overhaul since then. But it's kind of coming back into the norm. Like, you're starting to see more teachers use it. I find it very clunky to use, but you certainly can use it. It allows you to do everything just like a ThingLink, but it has some 3D objects, some 360 images. So it takes it even to another level, although ThingLink now does 360 images as well. So Glogster is EdLaw 2D compliant through the library program. So it's a good one to kind of use, and you can kind of take a look and play around with it. But when you log in, you get a dashboard that has all of these different icons, and you can do different things with it. So it's you can do it. It's just they're a little bit harder, I think, than a ThingLink, but that's my personal opinion on there. Bunsy, I always mention Bunsy. Bunsy is EdLaw 2D compliant. That one you're going to use actual images probably more than you're going to use real images unless you upload them up, but it certainly is a great resource for you. Canva and Adobe Spark are great for creativity. A lot of already built-in things. Canva is paid, but is free right now. Adobe Spark is always free. This one's a new one for me, the Genially. I haven't used this one personally, but I know a lot of teachers who do and love it. But it's a way to create some pretty engaging slide decks and presentations and images. So I know some people are doing their book bentos on Genially. You could also take a picture. Really, you can do this anywhere. So if you have a different graphic site that you use on a regular basis, you absolutely can do it in there. So coming back to Google Slides, I just grabbed one real quick. I didn't even follow all the rules. Well, I guess I did partially. I grabbed a square shape, and then I embedded a picture over it so I knew I had the square. And then I added in everything from the internet. So I grabbed a book cover and 4 objects that I thought related to the book. So I said 5 to 7. I probably should put 1 or 2 more in. But what I did was I wanted all of these images, but I used something called Remove BG, and I'm going to show you how that works. So if I go out to Google, and let's say I'm looking up a picture of, let's stick with a dog because that one came up. So it came into my head first. So here I have these great pictures of dogs. Now I could always put transparent and see if I can find a transparent picture. And probably with dog there is, but sometimes you run into where it doesn't. So if I go back to that dog again and I grab a picture, so let's say I want this one, but I don't want that background. If I save the image, and I'm just going to call it dog, I'm going to go to a website called Remove BG. And I'm going to drag that dog picture anywhere on the screen. And what it's going to do is take out the background for me and leave that dog. It just takes a moment. There it goes. So now I've got it. Now this picture, because when I look at it closely, I can see it's missing a paw, but there's still some grass in there. I can still edit and change that. So if I click on edit, I can click up here. I can change the background. So now I can put him anywhere I want if I wanted to. Or I can say, no, I don't want a background at all. You know, or you can do a color, whatever you want it to be. But I can also go back to this erase and restore, and I can click on restore, and I can click around and see how I can bring back some of the grass if I wanted to. I'm just clicking around him. All right, I could do that, or I could click on erase and remove all of that, which I'm doing very quickly. So I'm going to actually mess up the picture a little bit here. But you can do that and take out different parts. And then once you like what it is, you hit download and it saves right to your computer for you. All right, so I don't want to save that because I kind of took off part of the dog. As soon as I hit download, I can upload that picture and it has no background, so I'm able to use it. So you can do that when you're using different images. So I did that with these 4 images. I either found one that had a transparent background, or I used Remove BG to do that. I used, to create this, I used the shape tool. So I grabbed a shape and I grabbed the square and I drew out my square first just to get an idea of my shape. And then I removed it once I had it set. I've also seen students where if I just put in a blank slide here for a minute, change the layout to blank. I've also seen students where what they'll do is put in a table like this, and then change it to be a square shape. And then from here, they know that they're going to put the book somewhere in the center, and then these will be the guide for where all the things should go around it to kind of help them out with the shape. You can also change the page one. So if I click to page setup, I can change this to be a square by doing a custom and change it to like a 5x5 or an 8x8, whatever I want it to be. And it will change the shape, the size of the slide. So I can certainly do that to be able to create that slide into different shapes. Just to show you some other ones, I found this one on Twitter. Another one, this was done right in Google Slides, but what they did was they put these links in. I'm going to go out to Twitter here. So they created this slide, but they put these links in, but instead of it having a hot link, it opened up onto the side, or you can look on the side to see the different information. So this would be a lot more in depth than maybe doing them on a thing link or even just a plain photo, because it's going to explain parts of the story and why they have them there. And then you can give them, like the 1 through 7 or 8 could be the areas that you want the student to do. and then explain the symbolism of each one in the boxes on the right. So it gives you a different idea. They just did it on like a bookshelf kind of process. So, it'd be more visually appealing there. There's another example. Same teacher did this one. So there's another student's one where they created this backdrop with things they had in their house. They printed out photos of things they didn't have something to represent, and then they wrote their information on the right-hand side. So here's a history one, but you certainly could do this with a book. I mean, they have the outsiders in here, so you could do this as part of your book as well. Other ways you could do them, Adobe Spark, like I said, you can add in images, put in different backgrounds. You can use remove BG to get your different ones. I mentioned in Buncee that you could use images. You can see the difference between using an actual image and a cartoon kind of image. You can certainly do them in Buncee just the same. They have a square, both Adobe Spark and Buncee have the square already set, so you don't have to try to figure out the shape. So any questions on book bentos? Yeah, Eric agrees with me. Glogster is clunky. Yep. Yeah, definitely. Questions on book bentos? We're good. You can do them? Glogster is not free. Book bentos are. I mean, you can certainly make them on anything. Let me go back to that list and talk about what's free and what's not. Google Slides, if you're a G Suite school, or PowerPoint, if you're a Microsoft school, they're all free as part of your school. ThingLink is partially free. It has some things that are paid and some things that are not. Same with Glogster. Buncee is the same way, but Buncee right now is offering their platform for free. If you go to remote learning, just Google remote learning Buncee, it'll bring you to the website. And you can get it for free right now. Canva is partially free. Adobe Spark is totally free. Genially, I don't even know on that one if it's free or not. I haven't played with it enough to figure that out. There's pricing, so I'd say no, it's not totally free. There you go. So you've got you can create and view and use some templates for free on Genially. This will be my next one I'm learning. And then obviously you can take photos and do that for free any way you'd like. Good questions. Yeah, I like remove BG isn't totally free either, but what I did on it is totally free. It has some other features that will go paid, but I don't see any reason to go paid on it. There's enough free there. You could do it with other apps too that you can take out different things where you can cut. There's some great ones for your phone that will cut out shapes too, but I think remove BG is just the easiest because you drag and go and it's done for you. All right. Well, if you have any questions, you know where to find me. I'm happy to help. Maybe we'll see you all tomorrow. What is tomorrow? I don't even know what tomorrow one is. Tomorrow is Nearpod Draw It, and then Friday is Bingo, if you would like to come and check out some new things with me. All right. Have a great day. Eric, I don't see that you signed up on my learning plan. So that's why you didn't get the email, because I'm looking on my learning plan and I don't see your name on the list. So just make sure you sign up on there. That way you get credit for being here and you'll get the link because I send that email through the people that sign up on my learning plan.